There are many ways for you to improve your experience in Valheim, whether that's through a survival tip, optimal resource gathering strategy, or even a simple quality of life hack. In this video, we will review 20 things you should start doing for a better experience playing Valheim. Oh, and of course, I will explain what on earth I'm doing with my stone walls later in this video. Number 1 is make sure you're marking things on your map. Now you might say, hey Spazzy, that's obvious, but bear with me for a moment as I have 4 tips to take your map marking to the next level. First, you have 5 unique icons you can place on your map, so minimize confusion and agree with your server mates which icons will be used for what. For instance, the portal for, well, portals, and the house for your base. Whatever works for you and your friends. Plus, you can even create custom icons by combining the existing ones, like what I have done for the Greater farm we will create later. With a naming convention agreed upon, add a legend to your map in the top right or wherever you would like. This way, if returning to a server after a long break, you can easily look this up to remember your map naming conventions. Third, cross off your markings once completed. For instance, burial chambers do not replenish their loot, so mark it as complete on your map when finished. Oh, and don't forget to update your exploration at a cartography table. Each of your markings can be recorded at this table, and your mates can update their maps with your discoveries should they choose. Fourth, agree on a naming convention for your portals and update your map accordingly. I find numbers work best. Start at a portal pair of 1 and count your way up. Get your rested buff, get your rested buff, get your rested buff. Have I hammered this point home? Quite simply, the game is more enjoyable on top of the fact that it makes surviving a million times easier thanks to its many benefits. Always have 5 stone and 2 wood on hand for a campfire whenever it expires. Simply place a fire at your feet and take a seat to get your buff back quickly. If no enemies are nearby and not under any debuff, you can quickly get 8 minutes of this buff anywhere. However, you can boost this easily to 10 minutes if you can find shelter for the shelter effect such as below a tree, cliff overhang, and especially in the entrances of dungeons such as the Black Forest burial chambers. Finally, as you progress the game, you should always be adding new furniture pieces to your home to increase your comfort number and consequent rested buff duration. By building the list of items on screen, you can get a max rested buff of 23 minutes, up to 25 if having the seasonal items in the Yule Tree and Maypole. Plan out and label your chests. With every chest you build, add a sign overhead and label it with the contents of the chest. For instance, you could have dedicated chests for specific materials such as stone, wood, raspberries, whatever you wish. You can also change the color of the labels for increased visibility. Input a color code between 2 brackets like blue, for instance. Hit enter, then type the label of chest as desired for a blue label. Most basic colors are supported like yellow and red as shown. Once labeled, there are specific key commands that can be used to manage the transfer of materials more quickly into and out of your chests. Hold shift and click to split a stack by either entering a number or sliding the slider. Hold control and click a stack to transfer it into and out of storage. Or you can use the buttons take all to remove everything from the chest, or place stacks and all your inventory will move to the chest if a stack of the resource already exists within the chest. Build your base on indestructible structures across the world of Valheim, of which 2 come to mind. First are these rings of stones found in the meadows. These stones are relics of an original idea from the Valheim developers where they had intended for portals to be built exclusively inside of them. Fortunately, this idea was scrapped, but the stones remain. You will notice that these rocks cannot be damaged by you or creatures. Secondly, when building from their peak, you will notice the build piece is blue, meaning that it is a foundational piece and therefore has the highest possible structural integrity. Building a base from here will allow you, for one, to be safe from enemies and raids, as enemies will not be able to destroy the rock supporting the base, and 2, will allow you to build higher than is typically permitted. The larger trunk trees in the swamp are also indestructible, making for an excellent treehouse build location, as you'll see when we build our Surtling Core farm. Boss arenas can often be in areas with challenging terrain, with bowmasses being the first one that comes to mind. Prior to summoning a boss, you should modify the terrain to make the fight easier. Using your hoe, you can raise or fill any gaps in the arena that you could find yourself caught in throughout the fight. You can take this further and build raised earth columns throughout the arena to be used as cover for the fight. Or, if extra cautious, build a raised earth wall or moat around the whole arena. When reinforcing your base, you should build what are called base structures. Base structures, when built, prevent the spawn of creatures within their radius. While workbenches are the most common and resource-efficient base structure, any of these structures listed here can be used to prevent creatures spawn. Combine these with your reinforced walls for a secure foothold. Build a portal in your base, but do not name it, as 2 nameless portals will still connect. Leaving a nameless portal in your home can then function as an emergency connecting portal to save you from an otherwise sticky situation. If in danger, drop a workbench and portal quickly. No need to name it, as diving into it will transport you to the nameless portal in the safety of your home. You should should build farms for important resources like Surtling cores and Grey Dwarf eyes. First, Surtling core farms require a geyser in the swamp. Surtlings perish when touching water. For this reason, simply pull out your pickaxe and level the earth around the geyser. While the flame will remain, any future spawning Surtlings will die instantly, giving you coal and Surtling cores. That said, these will only spawn if a player is present. Set up a quick treehouse nearby and AFK. Over time, Surtlings will spawn and die, giving you unlimited access to their cores and coal. Grey Dwarf farms are a little bit more involved, but like the Surtlings, require a spawner in a Grey Dwarf nest found in the Black Forest. To prevent their spawning, first build a roof over the nest, then excavate underneath the spawner, at which point place 5 standing braziers on the ground below and raise and flatten the earth around them until the flames of the braziers are barely visible. Build up stone around them, leaving a pit with only the braziers. At this point, destroy the roof, letting the Grey Dwarf spawn into the pit. Like the Surtling farm, sit back, relax, and watch the creatures spawn and perish for Grey Dwarf eyes and much more. Inverting the basic stairs has a surprising property that makes for excellent defense structures. As you can see, when surrounding yourself with inverted stairs, enemy AI has no idea how to get to your location, nor will they know how to attack the inverted stair as they would with a typical wall. However, if you do get too close, they will attempt to swing at you, damaging the stair. To enhance your sturdy walls, you can place inverted stairs at the base, as made popular by the B-Sides video in the top right. You must check this video out. This will confuse the enemy AI, making your base impenetrable. Furthermore, you can place stone stairs over top to improve the look and prevent rain damage to the stair. Lastly, spikes can be placed at the wall base to damage enemies brave enough to attack. Isolate structures from the supporting earth to pop them. This concept was made popular through the popping of massive copper veins, as you've likely seen across YouTube. In my opinion though, you're better off grabbing the visible copper and moving on to the next vein. That said, this strategy works well for other resource nodes, such as silver in the mountains and giant rocks in the plains. As demonstrated with this rock, excavate its supporting structure, ensuring none of its foundation touches earth, and give it one last smack, popping the entire node. Use this strategy to maximize your resource gathering efficiency. Mix and match your armor for outstanding combinations. Many armor pieces carry unique attributes, such as the root harness providing pierce resistance, root mask poison, and the fenris armor giving movement speed. That said, max armor should also be a priority with the highest armor provider in the Carapace set. For best results, I suggest combining the Carapace helmet, root harness chest piece, and fenris leggings as a combination to try. You must carry multiple weapons to counter creatures' strengths and take advantage of their weaknesses. For instance, skeletons to blunt and trolls to pierce. I recommend having a polearm, mace or hammer, and sword to cover the 3 types of physical damage in pierce, blunt, and slash, but combine that with your favorite bow and elemental damaging arrows to ensure you have all the damage types covered. A well-known but great tip is to use trolls to excavate resources for you. This works primarily for both copper and stone deposits as well as trees in the Black Forest. Simply get their aggression and bait their attacks towards the resource of interest. Dodge their attacks as they break their surrounding resource nodes, providing you easy loot. Wear clothing purchased from Hildirs when using the hammer, hoe, or cultivator. Following the completion of Hildirs' requests, purchase her clothing for 35% reduced stamina consumption. Unfortunately, the stamina reduction benefit is only provided when using these 3 tools. Destroy structures encountered in the wild for valuable and sometimes progression-breaking resources. Starting in the meadows, you can build a workbench, nearby wooden shelters, and core wood camps to obtain fast wood, destroy beasts safely, and get core wood before the Black Forest. Shipwrecks can be found in the Black Forest, swamp, and plains for a sweet haul of fine wood. Stone structures in the Black Forest, plains, and mistlands can be torn down with a stone cutter and hammer or excavated and popped like resource veins. Other materials can also be captured by destroying doors, lights, banners, you name it, in each of the swamp's sunken crypts, mountains frost caves, and mistlands infested mines. While I have not listed everything that can be destroyed for resources, always ask yourself the question when encountering structures in the wild, can I break this? Speaking of dungeons, some structures can be built without a workbench and therefore can be built in dungeons to assist in overcoming its inhabitants safely. Placing structures like the cooking station, wood piles, or campfires can all be used to impede progress of your enemies at choke points. Simply block their progress and take them out at a distance. Take advantage of the immunity given by your dodge roll. Like Souls-like games, dodging in this game gives you what are called iframes. Iframes provide you complete invincibility while in the animation. If you time your dodges precisely, you can take 0 damage from any incoming enemy attack. I prefer to roll into my enemies to get close to them, allowing for an easy counterattack when coming out of my dodge. You should always sleep through the night. And again, you might say, Spazzy, it's so obvious. But hear me out. There are 5 major reasons why sleeping through the night is an absolute must for any playthrough. Number 1, if staying outside at night, you get the cold debuff, reducing your health and stamina regeneration. 2, sleeping through the night gives you back your rested buff, and we know how important that is from earlier. Number 3, more dangerous versions of enemies spawn, and they become more aggressive, leading to increased danger. Number 4, certain creatures and starved versions of other creatures exclusively spawn at night and need to be avoided, like the Fenring in the mountains as an example. Plus, starved versions of wolves and Yalls only spawn at night. Surely we want to avoid these. And number 5, material processing such as at a smelter, kiln, blast furnace, and fermenter all continue progressing while you sleep, saving you a ton of time. Not to mention, your crops will continue to grow through the night. To have a better time with your friends in Valheim, you should bind your emotes to keys by hitting F5, typing bind, the desired key, and then the name of the emote, giving you quicker access to sick emotes like Headbang in this example. And speaking of playing with friends, check out my link in the description for 30% off your first month of server hosting with that host. Unbind the emote, hit F5, type unbind, and then the key you no longer want to be bound. Always sheath your weapon when out of combat. Most weapons, except for daggers and fist weapons, reduce your speed when held. To sheath, either select the weapon you are wielding in your hotbar or press R. Unfortunately, sheathing has an animation that takes you out of your sprint. To counter this, when sprinting, double-click the hammer in your hotbar. Hammers have no sheath animation and therefore allow you to unequip your weapon the fastest. And while sprinting to safety, if you are looking for more ways to avoid danger, check out this video on strategies to ensure you never die again in Valheim.